Oh, okay, gang, we're back. Never skip leg day. You know what that means. Okay, we're back again for another episode in our continuing series on building an ukulele, or building an ukulele series if you get the title on YouTube. All right, critical point today, I never mentioned yet. This is the point where we're going to glue the braces onto the top. I didn't mention it when we glued the braces onto the back. You got to have your thickness at your final brace thickness. It's not going to be the final thickness because it's going to get thicker when you start doing finished standing. But this is where you got to have your final thickness on the soundboard before we start bracing it. And I use final thickness loosely. Now, question I had on another video is how thick is my soundboards, and even my back. The answer to that is as thick as it needs to be. For those of you that subscribe to tap tuning, every piece of wood has a resonance with it. Maybe not every piece, but I thickness it down until I hear the sound from the wood that I want. And if you don't know what I'm talking about and you've never held a plate like this and kind of banged it against your ear, you can hear resonance in the wood. Now, is it exacting science? No. Am I full of crap? Probably, but works for me up until this point in time. There's a lot of guys that tap tune. There's a lot of arguments against it. Go figure out what you're going to do. I'm not saying right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying that's what I do. Anyway, so this right now is about 83 thousandths of an inch for this spruce soundboard. Now, I learned something from one of my friends. He's actually a classmate of mine a year behind from G-String, Derek Shimizu. He said, you never sacrifice tone for structure, because no sense having an instrument where you keep thinning it down because you're hearing the soundboard dead or any part of the body dead, soundboard or back. But never sacrifice it for structure. At that point in time, I just assume if it's getting too thin, if it's not sounding good, we just file it, if you know what that means. Okay, couple of things we're gonna do today different that I normally do. Normally when let's come here to the bench. All right. Normally when I glue the bracing on, and we're gonna use high glue, and we're gonna use our vacuum press jig, just like we did with the backs, just we're not going to have a radius this underneath. Normally when I glue the top, by the way, I have a little mark on the braces to tell me which is the top. And this one has an arrow. I'm not sure if you can see it. Let's try that. There's my little arrow. Because I like this side for the gluing surface. All of this is going to come off anyway. Normally when I glue the top, I'll glue the cross braces just like that. And then I'll glue the bridge brace on. And then you guys have seen the mesh that I use to allow air to go all over the place or air to get sucked out all over the place in the vacuum press. But in this case, I have a bridge patch. This kind of elevates the gluing surface on here, and it'll get a nice suction on that. And I will let that sit, and then I'll clean up the excess glue squeeze out. But we're not going to do that today because we're going to try to do all the processes all at once. Well, anyway, going back to the normal process. After I clean up the glue, I'll put the sound hole patches on, or braces, I should say, right here. Remember now, this is all glued. These three pieces are all glued up. They're all cleaned up. Sound hole brace right here. Now, the reason I have these hulls, to be honest with you, is I used to use a gold bar deck. Got rid of that a long time ago. And I use the cauls just basically cam clamp it in on a form, and I used to cam clamp everything. And I still could do that, but I got a vacuum press, so I prefer to use that. So this was designed with clamps in mind to clamp it down. That being said, I have the same thing when the fan braces go on over the bridge. Let's find number 3, which is the center. So fan braces go on over the bridge plate, I should say. And because they're all the same height, it was just as easy for me to put a fan brace caul right on top there and clamp it. And I could put a whole lot of pressure on the clamp. Advantage of gold bar deck, again, you can clean up on the gold bar deck. Obviously, with a vacuum press, everything's covered. You're not going to clamp and clean up right away. It is what it is. Just another way to do things. Anyway, The demo is going to be fairly long today, so fast forward. All you're going to see is a lot of gluing, clamping with the vacuum press, taking it off, cleaning it up, clamping back again, and there's going to be a lot of noise. So it'll be a while. I'm going to try to come back at the end and talk story with what we did. All right, and at that being said, right at about 5:20, 5:30, demo starts. Oh, by the way, I'm going to take some time to set up the other bench, so bear with me. Okay guys, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys can hear me. You saw what happened. The brace actually moved a little bit, so I just kind of forced it in place, but it was still a little tacky. One of the fan braces didn't fit, so what I did was I ran over here real quick. I chiseled off that little edge so it'll fit. I don't know why it didn't work with my jig. Anyway, nice thing about hot hide glue is add some more. It reactivates what's in there. Glue it back on. You can see the order in which I do it, how it makes it easier if you do it in steps so you can clean up the hide glue. This one's kind of hard. I did it kind of all at one time. Okay, but anyway, we're gonna let that go probably for another maybe about 5-10 minutes, give or take. Again, it just keeps activating again because there's a leak in the tank, but that's okay, it still works. You guys got any questions, comments, pop them down below, and we'll see you next time.